the Forsyth Mags podcast. And today we have Cooper and Cherryel Scurry with Cooper Scurry Facial Plastic Surgery Center. How are y'all doing today?
Good.
Great.
Yeah. That was a mouthful, but I did it.
You did
I
great.
did great.
Yay, Brooke. Yay.
I always get a little nervous, you know.
Nailed it.
So I'm so happy to have y'all on. You are a husband-wife duo. I'm always intrigued when spouses work together because I know it's got to come with its challenges. Is that true?
That is true. I'll say it first.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think probably what you're getting at too is just like separating work from home.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no doubt.
I think there's times where I know not to talk about work.
Yes.
So, Dr. Scurry, tell us about a little bit of the history of the business and how it got started and all that good stuff.
Sure, thanks. I think first of all, lots of facial plastic surgeons around the country, they do just this. They start an independent solo medical surgical practice. And so our story, though, starts in that after my original surgical residency training, I did a fellowship in facial plastic surgery and then started searching for a job. And we knew that we wanted to come back and be near family, both having grown up in Winston-Salem and gone to Reynolds High School. And it turned out the best job, that we were looking for was at Piedmont Ear, Nose, and Throat Associates. And so I became the facial plastic surgeon at Penta. Lots of people know Penta. And we came home in 2008 to do that. And so for 13 years, I was the facial plastic surgeon at Penta. And then, over the years, I got kind of an inkling and an itch to just be more dedicated to my niche, to the specialty of facial plastic surgery. And so to make a longer story a little shorter, in winter of 23, so not long ago, like I was telling you, Brooke, I asked Cherryel one day, I said, hey, can we go out to dinner tonight and talk about something?
And if you said it like that, I'm sure she was like, what?
I was like, this better be a really good dinner. The food better be excellent.
Where did you go, by the way?
Yeah, I was going to say, where did you go?
Okay.
For this dinner?
Do you remember?
No.
Okay. It's Little Richard's at 5 Points. So
There you go.
That's where we went. Yes.
and that
It's a good spot.
goes by Little Richard's, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I figure that's my friend Nick, and we'll plug that. So
Love Little Richards. They're great.
yeah, absolutely. She did say this is not a date, is it? But no. So we got to this point in my career, and I think one of the big things was just the stage of our children. Like we had known that facial plastic surgeons have their own practices, but we had been raising kids, and our kids were at a stage of life where when I said that night, hey, what do you think about us starting a new facial plastic surgery practice? And would you help me? She was like, sure.
So
Yes.
no hesitation?
No. Like we
Awesome.
have 4 kids, and one just graduated from college. We have one in college. We have another college freshman this year, and then our daughter was starting high school. In high school, you play sports there, you're there. Middle school, I felt like I was driving her everywhere.
Yeah,
And
you're a
so
taxi cab.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it did feel like the timing was right and it was good.
Yeah. So I love that you didn't even hesitate. You're like, yep, let's do it.
I didn't hesitate then at all. Now, ask
But fast forward.
me how well of a job I've done with the things that we thought I would do, and some of them I've failed miserably at, and others I've done
Hardly.
very well.
Yeah.
Hardly. Yeah.
Of
So my
course.
job description from the beginning to now has really been tweaked a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
much-
evolved.
Yes,
Because
definitely.
you don't know what you don't know.
I've found more strengths and weaknesses
Yeah.
throughout the last year.
So what is your job description?
So originally, I have been called office manager, and
Okay.
I would say that I do some office managing and a lot of creative directing.
Okay.
That's a good title.
So
She's done awesome.
Definitely getting the office opened and layout, and just making it.
very pretty.
Where's the office located?
We're at the corner of Bethesda and Maplewood,
Okay. Great
and
location.
so it's a fabulous location.
Yeah.
It really is.
And facial plastic surgery, just so our listeners know, what are some of the services that you offer?
Absolutely. So I've always, even while at Pinta, was coming out of fellowship and going out and meeting people or meeting doctors that might refer patients. I've always said anything that you would just think you would want to go see a plastic surgeon for that is on the face, that's what I do. And so that can be cosmetic things, and it can be surgical things and non-surgical things. So I certainly do Botox and other injectables. I certainly have lasers and energy devices in the office. But then the real bread and butter of facial plastic surgery is, of course, the surgical part. And so that can be cosmetic, or that can be functional, or that can be reconstructive. And so we take insurance. We take Aetna and Blue Cross and Cigna and MedCost and Medicare. But we also do cosmetic surgery services, things that insurance companies don't pay for, like, and I tend to just go from top to bottom. I say we do brow lifts, we do upper eyelids, we do lower eyelids, we do cheek lifts, face lifts, neck lifts. We also, do little lumps and bumps that, you would want to go see a plastic surgeon for if something's on your face. So I don't do breast surgery. I don't do tummy tucks. I don't do arms and legs and things.
Yeah. Stick to the face.
This fall, we had a running joke that Monday morning we seemed to have a high school athlete with a broken nose for like 5 weeks in a row.
Oh my gosh.
Soccer season was brutal in Forsyth County.
It's true.
Yeah, I think people do, when they think of facial plastic surgery, they think of facelifts and brow lifts. They don't necessarily think of like, oh, I broke my nose and I have to have it reconstructed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
Admittedly, the largest part of what I did as a facial plastic surgeon while at Pinta was nasal surgery. And thankfully, I still love getting referrals from my old Pinta partners. I'm super thankful for that and always will be. Lots of people walk into Pinta and maybe don't breathe well through their nose, or they had an old injury. And all ear, nose, and throat doctors will do a deviated septum surgery, but not many ear, nose, and throat doctors will do a rhinoplasty. We'll operate on the outside of the nose. We'll not just change the shape of the septum, but change the shape of the nose as well. So that's where you would want to seek out a specialist in facial plastic surgery, somebody that does lots of nasal work.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Based on the name of the service, not your name, how much plastic is actually used? And why do they call it plastic surgery?
Oh, that's perfect, Tim. That's almost like we did script that question.
Right?
Yeah.
That is a good question. I've always wondered that.
Yeah, it's a real good question. And I say it often. Like, I just work it into a patient discussion at times when it seems appropriate. But the root plastos, so the root word plastos means to change the shape of. And so then when you think of the specialty of plastic surgery, just broadly speaking, that means to change the shape of something.
Plastic meaning the characteristics of plastos. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Not
the
polymers.
material. Not the material that we think of, the polymer, et cetera. And so then when you think about some other doctor words like septoplasty or rhinoplasty, well,
angioplasty.
Angioplasty. That'd be a good one that's not even cosmetic by any means.
Yeah.
Or abdominoplasty. So abdominoplasty, which I don't do, would be to change the shape of the abdominal wall. Septoplasty, I do change the shape of the septum, and then rhinoplasty means change the shape of the nose. So you can see the difference between just a septoplasty and a rhinoplasty.
Yeah. Do you have people, so the rhinoplasty is not like to help you with breathing at all. That's always the...
So technically, you could have a functional rhinoplasty, meaning that you might have a trouble breathing through your nose that's not necessarily because of a deviated septum. And we don't have to get too technical, but rhinoplasty technically can be either functional or purely cosmetic. If somebody says, I don't like the hump or the bridge, or I don't like the looks of the width of the tip of my nose, that's probably going to be a cosmetic rhinoplasty.
Yeah.
And insurance companies don't pay for that. But there are patients that I meet this whole time in my career, and that rhinoplasty surgeons around the country, around the world meet, that they come in, they don't breathe well through their nose, and as a physician surgeon, we examine their nose and we ask a few more questions, and you get to the bottom of things, and it's not just their septum.
Yeah.
And it's not allergies. It's not like a physiologic thing. And you look, and maybe their septum's not even that bad. or their nose is not swollen, and there's something else about the structure of their nose that makes them indicated for a functional rhinoplasty, in which you change the shape of the nose for the purpose of breathing better.
Yeah.
And then you could also call some rhinoplasty reconstructive, car accident, crooked nose. And unfortunately, sometimes sports injuries, that were long ago, that they didn't get fixed at the time because for whatever reason.
Like Owen Wilson. We can use him. He's not here.
That's a great example, but I wouldn't touch his nose. He's done pretty good
he's
for
branded
himself,
that
right?
nose.
Yeah,
he would be crazy to have surgery on that.
And there are some stories of Hollywood rhinoplasties where it changed the actor or actress's look a little bit.
Jennifer Grey.
I wasn't going to say that, Tim.
It's okay.
But
I will.
you nailed it.
He
That's
always,
a true story.
Yeah.
He always
Wait, I
tells
don't know who that
patients-
is.
Dirty Dancing.
/ Ferris Bueller's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to look her up to refresh my memory.
That's Brooke's. Yeah, that's how old Brooke is. Yeah. Tim and Cherryel and I are tracking. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I would imagine that you've had quite a few stories where, that has to be life-changing to be able to breathe better. I can't even imagine. So that must be a very rewarding part of your job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the fun stuff. Yeah. I think, so me just getting into surgery was going back to when I was 20,
Wow.
and meeting a family friend in Winston-Salem named Michael King, an orthopedic surgeon who saw me when I broke my arm or sprained my ankle. And I would go to him, and he would do the best job of drawing pictures and explaining things. And I originally liked the idea of the doctor being a teacher to their patients of what's going on and what we're going to do to fix it. But then the next story is another family friend, Lee Simstein, general surgeon at Forsyth, invited me to come do a summer internship in the OR at Forsyth Hospital in 1995. And working in the OR at Forsyth in the summer, that was it. I was like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to be a surgeon. And I think the real gratification of surgery is fixing things. And in plastic surgery, you can fix things for all sorts of different reasons.
Yeah, from practical, being able to breathe better and build in people's confidence levels, just shooting up, that has to be, just as rewarding.
Another super simple, great example of what you're going at in terms of confidence is a real simple operation called otoplasty.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that
that's
pops
the thing
into my
that's
mind.
been the sweetest to me being in the office.
Well, so otoplasty is, hey, we talked about it. It means to change the shape of. Oto means ear. So it's to change the shape of ears. And so we could all think of just people that we've seen somewhere that they just have kind of prominent ears that they don't lay back towards the skull and scalp. They just kind of stick out a little bit. And lots of people, doesn't bother them at all. You'll see plenty of older adults and their ears are like that, never bothered them. And then you'll meet kids, sometimes 6, 7, 8 years old. Or for me, it's been more common in my career, truthfully, that it's an 18 through 25-year-old who has always just covered their ears with their hair. Whether it's a guy and they just keep a real shaggy haircut, or girls and they just keep their hair long. And they present 18, 20, 21, 25 years old. They're now a young adult and they're like, I've always wanted to do this. And it's an office surgery too. It's a pretty easy thing to do in most people's demeanor, to offer a pill or two to relax them, like a Valium or something, and then local anesthetic. And you're just changing the shape of the ears.
Wow.
And in a subtle way, you're just changing the shape so that they're not sticking out so much. And so one of my favorite stories about otoplasty is a young man finally gets out of high school and he's got a job and he can do it. And when I met him, he just had this shaggy surfer hairdo. And then he came back for follow-up at 1 month, 2 months, 6 months. And then I didn't see him for a while. And then one day on social media, I see him getting engaged with his fiance, and he's got a buzz cut, you know, because
that's
no
cool.
problem.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
So you told us what drew you to plastic surgery, which is awesome. Oh my gosh, I had another question on the tip of my tongue. I'm sure it will come back. So you told us what you do in the office, And what is something that you guys have been working on to draw that line of not talking about work at home necessarily?
Oh, so this past year, I tended to book us events. So we went to like a book reading and signing downtown, things where it like made us kind of focus on something else. Going to a musical.
So we went to Trevor Noah.
Yes.
Like we saw Trevor Noah at the Coliseum.
The face-to-face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We went to Harlan Coben. Did I say his last name right? The thriller
Mystery
novelist
thriller novelist.
who was here at Milton Road Center. So Date Night did it
There
for
you
us.
go.
Yeah, kind of not doing as many, like just doing dinner, but kind of focusing on something else to actually discuss and talk about.
Because it's
really
easy for the conversation to go to
just
work.
filter back every time.
Yeah.
And Cooper and I met in English class, 9th grade, Reynolds High School, alphabetical order seating. My maiden name is Sink. And so, I mean, we've been together a long time, so it's real easy sometimes to just kind of be lazy.
Yeah, no, I get that. So what did the kids think about you starting your own practice?
I would say they've just been very observing because
Are any of them in the medical field or have
so
plans to go in the
nobody
medical field?
seems interested. Well, maybe Millie's a little interested. I think
Yeah,
I think she
Millie
might
is a
still
little-
end up a little interested in medicine, maybe
The
to some
youngest?
degree. She's the
Yes.
youngest. And then the two middle boys, if you went from youngest to oldest, next would be Campbell. He's 18, and then Winston's 20. And those guys seem kind of interested in business. And then our oldest son, William, is a young architect, has finished
okay.
undergrad, probably do grad school, and he works for Stitch here in downtown
Oh,
Winston.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very familiar with them.
So, I mean, I think the bottom line is like starting a business of any sort is just massive.
Yeah.
And I think even if when we talked that night at Little Richard's about doing this and we thought this is a big deal, and I think it's a even bigger deal than you can probably imagine.
Yep.
And
But they're observant and they ask questions.
yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it has to be inspiring to watch your parents
Yes.
start a new business
I
together.
hope so.
And I tried to make, like, just even the break room, I tried to make it, like, so that they might even just want to come and hang out. Like, you know, when we're there, they can do a little bit of homework. It's comfortable enough to take a seat. And
Yeah.
Yeah, just love when they stop by.
Yeah.
There's a back door they can sneak in and then sneak into my office and
I love it.
Yeah.
not walk in the front
So
door.
it's been, you said a year?
Yes.
Or almost a year?
We kind of celebrate, I think, August 1st now.
Oh,
It's
so
kind of
right
so
out of
last
year.
week is the 1 year anniversary.
Okay. So now
And,
that a year has passed, which I'm sure was a very challenging year, starting a business is tough. What is the biggest lesson that you think you learned in this business starting endeavor?
You go first. I have a thought, but you go first.
I would just say how little I knew. Like, I felt like I'm a pretty well-educated person. By degree, I'm a registered dietitian with my master's in public health.
Very
and so there
cool.
are a lot of things that overlap. And I enjoy, like, getting to, like, talk to some of his patients, and he'll say, "Oh, my wife's actually a dietitian. Let me bring her in here for just a second." You know, it's just, but there was so many, like, ins and outs, and, like, even the tax system. Like, there's all the little things that I just didn't realize were so big.
Yeah. What about you?
I think I'm just learning patience, and hopefully that's an okay thing to be learning. You know, you can just only work so hard and pour so much into it until you just have to realize that what everybody tells you is it takes a few years.
Yeah.
And I'm just keep saying I'm ready to be a few more years down the road.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing that I've learned is I just really like it. Like, you know, just from an evolution of the career standpoint, I think one of the reasons I probably went into medicine in the first place too was I didn't have any interest in business.
Yeah.
And so then you get into medicine, you go through med school and residency, and you have still the doors are wide open in terms of what type of career you might choose. And, you know, I chose to work in a pretty good sized practice thinking, well, I can just be a doctor and just see patients and just do surgery. And yet I think I had the very perfect fit because Penta was almost like a fellowship in small business, and that like it was such an awesome learning era of how to run a medical practice, how to run a surgical practice, how to run a small business.
Yeah.
And so then when we started the business, I felt like, I had this background and experience and sort of observership for a while at Penta and opportunities for leadership, et cetera. But then also when we started the business, I still feel like, we could have been starting a hardware store or, in any kind of business, there's just so many fundamental things you have to do to start a business. So,
Oh, absolutely. But I think you guys are going to be very successful because your heart is for your patients. You love how rewarding it is. And at the end of the day, as long as you're, there doing something that you're passionate about, you're going to figure out all the ins and outs of the little annoying business things that you have to do, unfortunately.
And even outside of surgery, sometimes we had the cutest sweet lady that the esthetician just helped her learn to reapply her makeup for a 70-year-old face and versus using the same techniques she was using when she was 25.
Yep.
And it's just really sweet to see just the joy on somebody's face for sometimes just the slightest things.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you said you do offer Botox.
Yeah.
What are some other, I don't want to say med spa, but type services that you offer that come to mind that are not surgical?
First of all, I'm the only doctor provider, but we have an esthetician.
Okay.
So we hired an esthetician, which is somebody that does facials and skincare and recommends products. And like Cherryel said, recommends makeups. And will color match you for these makeups. We carry a makeup line called Jane Iredale. But in addition to the esthetician, we do have a CO2 laser, which is great for skin resurfacing. We have an energy device that's relatively new in the industry called radiofrequency microneedling, which is just another technology which helps with skin rejuvenation.
Yeah.
So Botox, Dysport, Restylane, Juvederm, all of those are minimally invasive injectable products.
So if somebody was interested and they didn't know exactly what they wanted, could they just come in for a consultation and you guys could give kind of suggestions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But also I do like, that's a great question. And yet when a patient comes to see us, maybe the esthetician might just kind of broad strokes offer some general advice about skincare. When somebody comes to see me, I really like for them to tell me if something's bugging them.
Yeah.
When a patient sits in
Because your opinion doesn't really matter.
Nailed it.
Exactly.
Brooke, Brooke, that's exactly right. It really doesn't matter what I think. When you're talking about surgery, you don't want to have surgery on something unless something's bugging you.
Yeah.
And I'll have a
Not
patient.
that somebody else doesn't like it, that you don't like it.
That too.
Yeah.
Right.
If you tell me my husband doesn't like my nose, well, that
bad.
doesn't matter to me. Yeah, exactly. So sometimes I do have to circle people back and say, tell me what's bugging you, and then I'll tell you what we could do for that or what some of the options are.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us again, as we're wrapping things up, the location of your office and how we can get in touch with you guys.
Absolutely.
The location is 855 Bethesda Road. It's at the corner of Bethesda and Maplewood, off of Stratford. Most people know it by Goodies Restaurant.
Yeah.
And our phone number is 336-747-3737.
Yeah. And we are working on our digital presence. So we've got a relatively nice looking website, we think.
Yeah.
There's before and after pictures gallery on our website.
We're on Instagram.
Yep, we're doing Instagram.
What's
and
your
Facebook.
Instagram handle? Do you know?
Dr. Cooper Scurry.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to put all that in our show notes so people can
Perfect.
click along and follow.
Excellent.
Well, it was a pleasure to chat with you two today.
Thanks.
It's nice meeting y'all.
Yeah. And as always, you can find Forsyth Mags and all of our content online, forsythmags.com. And we're also on Instagram at Forsyth Mags. And you can find Dr. Cooper Scurry in the magazine. And that's a wrap for today. The views and opinions stated on this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting companies. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced without expressed written consent of Forsyth Magazines Incorporated. Ooh, that's a mouthful.